Alright, goals guys, we're coming to that time of the year, we're coming to the end of the year where it's a good time to sort of reflect on how the year's gone. It's one of those things that everyone likes to set their New Year's goals and they pencil it down on the calendar or whatever, and they've got these big ambitious goals. They're giving up smoking, they're running marathons, they're climbing Everest or whatever it may be. So in this video I'm just going to be unpacking some of the goals that I had set for the year. This is not something I usually video or anything like that. Quite often I don't even write a lot of my goals down, especially my long-term bigger picture goals. I have most of them sort of up in my head, but I do write down especially weekly goals and daily goals and little jobs and tasks and things that I need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, sort of 6-monthly basis. But the bigger picture goals, I sort of keep them up in my head. And I'm not going to be talking about my long-term goals today. Today I'm just more talking about my short-term goals and sort of short to medium-term goals that I had set for this year and some of the goals that I've got set for next year as well. Big thing I like to do when I'm setting goals is I like to try and attach them to something that's quantifiable, something that has hard numbers to it, not just an airy-fairy thing. That way when it's hard numbers you can sort of put things in place in order to achieve that goal rather than just some airy-fairy sort of I want to go to the moon or whatever it may be. I try and set achievable goals. Sometimes I don't achieve them, but even if I don't achieve them, I'm still closer than what I was if I didn't have a crack at them. So that's another way I sort of like to look at it as well. But I try and set achievable goals as well. I don't try and say, I want to run 100 meters in under 10 seconds or something like that. I'll always sort of try and set achievable goals, or read a book a day, or I'll try and always sort of set relatively achievable goals, in my opinion anyway. A couple of the key goals I had set for this year was to do a lot more reading, okay? Something that's dropped off a little bit for me over the last couple of years. I've been pretty flat out with setting up the business in Japan, so I haven't had a chance to do a lot of reading. But this year, things have stepped back a bit when we returned back from Japan in end of March, early April it was. Had a lot more time on my hands. I ended up starting this YouTube channel, something I didn't know much about as well as YouTube, and it's been great. There's such a great community here on YouTube, especially in the finance space. There's some really good content out there, especially from other fellow YouTubers like Brandon over at New Money, Investing with Tom, some other great YouTube, Hamish Hodder. There's plenty of good sort of investing based sort of channels for this part of the world as well. It's so great. I had no idea how much good available content was on YouTube, so I'm stoked I found that this year. And there's a really cool community around there as well, which is great. We can all sort of talk about stocks and investing and business and really geek off on it, which is cool. It's cool to have these sort of like-minded people in your life, even if it's only through YouTube. It's pretty cool. I like that. So that's one thing that I'm really stoked on this year, and I set a goal of making 50 videos, and I've knocked that out of the park. I think I'm at about 56 now, so pretty stoked with my progress on YouTube as well. It's a pretty slow and steady battle with YouTube, I find. I must admit it's a lot harder than I first thought. Thought it was make a couple of videos and just let them go viral, and it's definitely not like that. So that's just sort of my take on YouTube. And next year I've set the same sort of goal, pump out another 50 videos at a minimum, try and put in 1 or 2 a week. Some weeks maybe less, some weeks maybe more. I've got a lot on next year, got a few things happening, so big changes in my life next year. So something I'll unpack a bit later, so stick around for that. But yeah, next year I'll be still pushing forward with the channel. Really enjoy making the videos. If you guys have got any videos you want me to cover off, drop it in the comments below. Anything that you want to know a bit more about, or anything, whether it's just about investing or something about me or anything like that. If there's enough sort of interest on it, I'll make a video on it. So that's my YouTube goals for next year. With the reading goals, I'm going to carry on doing the reading like I was saying earlier. This year I set a goal of reading 12 books. Once again, I've knocked this one out of the park as well. And predominantly this is through Audible. I'm a big fan of Audible. If you've watched any of my other videos, I talk about Audible a bit and some of the great books that I've sort of listened to this year. I also read hard books as well, but definitely a big fan of Audible because it's something that you can do when you're cooking dinner or mowing the lawns or doing some other sort of chore that you don't really have to think too much, but you can pop an audio book in and you're gaining this valuable insight. I'll probably listen to over 25 different books this year, predominantly in the investing sort of space, from some of the best investors in the world. A lot of these book recommendations actually come from other YouTubers. A lot of these have come from Investing with Tom. If you haven't seen Investing with Tom's YouTube channel, highly recommend it. Definitely go over there and check out some of his stuff. Really good sort of value-based investing. Also Brandon over at New Money, got some great sort of videos as well. So highly recommend both those YouTubers for some of their book recommendations as well. And I've read pretty much most of their books that they've recommended this year, which is really good for my own investing as well. I've learned a lot from a lot of these books. And that's what I'm going to continue doing next year. And I set the goal for this year was 1 book a month, which, like I said, I knocked that one out. But next year I'm sort of going to pump it up to, say, 20 books for the year. And I think this is quite achievable. You could probably do even more. You could probably even do 1 a week almost if you wanted to set it aside, depending on the size of the book as well. So that's another goal I've set for next year. Also, another key goal that I want to try and do for next year is drop my weight back a bit. I know this is a classic cliche goal. Oh, next year I want to drop 10 kilo. But that's another goal that I want to sort of drive back. Usually I'm a pretty active sort of guy. This year I've been sitting around a lot more, took on a lot more study, which obviously a lot more sitting around, and all this is online, so not as active as I usually am. And this year I've been sort of locked down a lot more than usually, sort of travelling a fair bit and snowboarding a good chunk of the year. Whereas this year there hasn't been much snowboarding going on. Early in the year it was, prior to the health crisis sort of ramping up. But now this time of the year I'd usually be sort of sneaking off to Japan and spending a whole season on the board over there, pretty much snowboarding on a daily, which I love. Which I'm so lucky to have that opportunity to do that. It's just the way we've sort of set the business up over there in Japan. And unfortunately we can't do that this season. But hopefully moving forward into the following season next year, we're back online and everything in the world's starting to come back online. So that's something I'm sort of going to achieve. And this is what I'm going to try and do by doing a lot more mountain biking. I'm in the market for a mountain bike at the moment. Got one lined up. So that's something I'm going to try and do a lot more this summer. So that's another sort of little fitness goal that I've got set to try and get back closer to the 80 kilo mark. At the moment I'm sort of hovering around 90, but I want to try and sort of drop that back to that 80 kilo mark. I like being quite light and agile and fit rather than being a bit heavy, which I am generally a little bit at the moment. So try and drop that back, and buy a lot of swimming and diving and mountain biking over the summer here in Tassie, which is going to be great. So that's another little goal there. Also, another goal that we have set, this is for me and my wife, was we're currently in the process of building a little tiny home. I mean, we've got half a dozen or so different rental properties and lodges and things in Japan, but we're actually in the process of building a little shipping container conversion. We're going to get a 40-footer and 20-footer and convert them. So that's going to be quite a fun little project. If you'd love to know a bit more about all this and the costings of everything, drop it in the comments below, as I might make a couple of videos on it. It seems to be quite a big thing everyone's keen on at the moment, of these tiny homes. So that's something we're going to be getting involved with, and I'm going to be doing majority of the work myself. I like doing a lot of the hands-on sort of stuff. I'm pretty handy when that comes to that sort of stuff. I'm not a builder or anything like that, but YouTube, there's plenty of good information about there, especially in the shipping container conversion, tiny home sort of space. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I've set the goal of 3 months to try and knock this over. Don't know how we're going to go with that. We just actually had the shipping container arrive today, so that was quite exciting. But we're going to be working on that as well. So that's sort of goal for 3 months, is to get that locked up, ready to go, so we're good, ready to move in. And lastly, on the goals next year, this is more of a harder goal to quantify anything, but we have a baby boy due June 10th, which I'm super stoked about. I've been sort of toying with the idea of having a kid for a while now. It's one of those things, but I'm getting to that age. A lot of my friends and family, everyone's having kids, and it's just one of those things you would sort of, me and my wife have been toying with for a while, and we've actually pulled the, we're getting stuck into it now, so to speak. So next year, we obviously got a baby boy due June 10th, so that's super exciting. But I want to start reading a few more books around this sort of space as well, to try and be the best father I can be, essentially, which I know everyone sort of says they want to be the best they can be, and which is great, but I want to be a big active part in my child's life, and with the way we've sort of set our life up, I'm thinking that should be somehow achievable, but I want to start reading some books now, so I've got a basic understanding of what I've got to do, just the simple stuff, because at the moment I don't know much when it comes to raising kids, so I'm trying to gain a bit more knowledge and insight into that whole space. So if you've got any good book recommendations around that, or YouTube channels or anything in that sort of space, drop it in the comments below, because I'm pretty fresh to all this sort of stuff. So super exciting little next step in our life. So that's another sort of goal I've got around that as well. But like I said, it's quite hard to quantify anything around that. But that's something else that's going in the works at the moment. With that said though, I'd love to know what you guys do with your goals and things. How do you set your goals? Me personally, I write down, especially if I've got daily goals and things that I've got to do that this week and whatnot, I write those down in a little journal sort of thing. But sort of the bigger picture stuff, I keep a lot of that up in my head, my long-term sort of goals, because I can remember that there's pretty good sort of bigger picture sort of stuff. But the more short-term stuff, your daily, weekly, monthly sort of goals, I generally write those down, because a lot of those can sort of drop out of your head. I find if you don't write those sort of things down, even if it's just things for myself with YouTube or anything like that, I generally write these sort of things down, or anything in our business as well. These thoughts come in and go out of your head pretty quick, so it's good to sort of write those things down. And then you've got to put things in place and actionable steps you can make in order to achieve these goals. So that's just sort of my take on my sort of short-term, mid-term sort of goals. And that's just a couple of things I've got for next year. Also my Japanese as well. I'm always sort of working on my Japanese. My Japanese is not great, but it definitely helps with running our business in Japan, being able to speak Japanese. And at the moment I'm at a pretty base level, and I'm trying to get that to the next level. So I've been doing that daily through an app called Duolingo, and I'm up to about 260 days on Duolingo at the moment. Bit of a streak on that. It's the longest I've ever gone, but I'm going to keep trucking away at that. Something I try and do every morning before, as soon as I get up, have a couple of glasses of water, and then do my Japanese. It's just my first sort of job for the day. So that's something I've managed to keep doing, like I said, for about the last 260 days. So I'm going to keep doing that next year as well, and just kind of keep slowly plugging away at that and hopefully try and get better at Japanese. I don't naturally pick up languages. If you do naturally pick up languages, what's your trick? Tell me how you do it. I'm not one of those people that just picks up languages. I find a lot of Europeans, they're pretty good. They can spend a couple of weeks and they get a really good handle on of language in general. I've travelled with a lot of Europeans over the years, and they speak half a dozen different languages. Even their English is better than my English, sort of thing, which is incredible. I'm always admire these people that can sort of chop and change between different languages and can learn a language so quick. I'm definitely not one of those people. So if you've got any good tips and tricks on learning a language, drop that in the comments below as well. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. I could talk for hours about goals and things and sort of different goals that I've got, but just trying to keep it short and sweet today. If you've got any questions or any dramas or anything I covered off in there, drop it in the comments below. If you got some value from today's video, guys, it'd be much appreciated if you hit that like button. And if you want to see some more videos like this moving forward on this channel, we talk all things investing, business, finance, even a few goals, then hit that subscribe button and you'll be the first to know. Love to have you along for the ride. With that said, guys, I know 2020 has been a hell of a year, especially for ourselves. Our business has pretty much had the rug swept out from underneath us, but then we just pivoted, started doing a lot more study and whatnot, and that's just something we've had to do. And luckily, we didn't have a lot of debt attached to our business and properties and things, which has made us be all right. We can manage to get through this year. Whereas if we had a lot of debt attached to everything, could be a different picture, but we've sort of set everything up and structured everything in a way so that it can sort of keep moving forward. We're not really getting ahead super financially this year, but we're not going backwards either, so that's one way that we've sort of got things set up this year for us. So that's just quite lucky in that regard, but hopefully next year's bigger and better and we get through the other side of this health crisis. Alright guys, like I said, I'm waffling on, we're going to wrap it up there. Hope everyone has a good Christmas and have a good New Year, and we'll catch you in the New Year. Cheers guys.